This is Paul Nobles from eatperform.com, and this is going to be a little different video than I normally do because I wanted to talk to you guys about a basic idea that I had to figure out before ultimately things changed for me, and that is the fact that I was the problem. And what I'm ultimately saying here is not that there aren't issues that and hurdles that come up along the way as you try and figure out whatever your goals may be, whether it be, getting to some athletic competition, whether it be fat loss, whatever it is, ultimately you are the problem, but you're also the solution. And so I wanted to run through some various ideas that we hear and then kind of give you guys some thoughts as it relates to those issues. So one of the things someone said to me recently was, I went on vacation and gained 8 pounds and now I feel disgusting. Okay. Now I'm not really sure exactly whether she's being really truthful there or not. But that's really concerning because that's more of an issue. That's a bigger issue than just how many calories you're taking in on a daily basis or whether or not you're eating enough carbohydrates or not. There are some things that I think people should really seek psychological help with. And if you're struggling with your relationship with food, and that sort of sounds like one of those types of deals, then seek professional help because we can teach you the science of all this stuff, but the reality is that there sometimes are underlying issues, and once again, I think a lot of people have actually put themselves in this situation with their relationship with food, and so fixing your relationship with food will make a big difference. My thyroid is all kind of messed up. Okay, I'm never going to say to anyone, do not seek medical help. We have a physician on staff for a reason. But in this instance, I was hypothyroid. My numbers are better now. They're better than they've ever been. And part of the reason why was because I gave myself that condition. I gave myself that condition by not having a good relationship with food, constantly dieting all the time, and in these binge and bust cycles. And so, keep that in mind as you have these conditions. Oh, my cortisol is too high, my thyroid. Many of these things can be corrected by behavior. And it's really sort of this quick fix way of thinking things that are causing people to have these types of issues. And as you take a more slow, sustainable approach, that will actually help a lot of that stuff. But the idea that a pill is going to help your fat loss, frankly, is sort of misinformed. It will help your symptoms as it relates to the thyroid issue, but what caused that thyroid issue in the first place is my question to you. My body works better on fats. I am carb intolerant. Okay, so Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you cannot, you are correct, right? And so these are the types of messages that people send themselves every single day. And if this is something you believe, ultimately you're making yourself into a victim, and that's not a formula for you being part of the solution. So I'm not saying that maybe you're mostly resting or maybe the activities that you do, they can work fine with fats. What I am saying though is this idea of this victim mentality, it's the enemy of self-discovery, and so keep that in mind. I don't want to get bulky. Sherry wrote an article about this. And one of the reasons why it was personal to Sherry and became personal to me was because we know all these people that work their ass off to get that muscle. And then there's people that complain, well, I don't want to get bulky. Well, guess what? You're not going to get bulky because you're not willing to do the work or you're underfeeding your body, or all these other types of things that are never going to get you to where you want to go. If you change that mentality and you start fueling your workouts and this and that, we can talk about results. We can talk about, trying to keep a certain aesthetic, but the amount of work that you need to put in to get bulky, most people will never accomplish that. It's a very select few. The scale number doesn't define me. I'm just calling BS on this one, because the scale number defines you so much that you avoid it. And so my thing is that the scale is a number, but it's the expectation of a number that actually is causing the problem that you're having. And so one of the things that I see a lot of people having, and I'm no different than this. I mean, when, I'm cutting, I would like to see the scale go down so I can be done and get back to eating normal. That's normal behavior, right? But it's this idea that the scale always needs to go down that becomes the problem. And it's the fact that you're never allowing the scale to go up that is one of the contributors to your issues. If you allow yourself to thrive, then ultimately, when you're in times of deficit or restriction, the fat comes off a little bit easier. Two of the things that we talk about with our staff is the concept of the misery filter. And the misery filter basically works like this. When we started to Eat to Perform, one of the first things I said was, I'm just not going to allow negativity. And, I'm just not going to seek that out. And I knew this way before I did this page. I've done this, many times in my life. And in general, if you're around positive people, miserable people don't feel welcome. And so I always wanted to make the right people feel welcome at Eat to Perform. And if you're here, that message resonated with you. So what I would suggest to you is, if that message resonated with you, then you need to be positive. You need to keep an upbeat mentality. Do whatever it takes. Fake it if you need to, but don't allow yourself to go into that hole, because we all know where that hole ends. It doesn't end in self-discovery. So one of the things I said to someone recently was, she was kind of being a little negative about Eat to Perform. And the thing that I said to her was, well, wait a second, before Eat to Perform, you were eating 1,200 calories, you were training for marathons, you were doing all this less activity, and you've only been doing this for a couple, weeks here. I mean, what essentially you're in is like a boxing match, right? And rather than fighting your opponent in this instance being self-discovery, what you're doing is turning around and trying to deflect everything on the science, or on the calories, or on the fact that you've made yourself inflexible over time. And it takes time to heal that. You have to be, forgiving of all the past mistakes that you've made, but don't, get into that boxing match and then turn around and punch your coach in the face, right? That's the person in the corner with you. That's the person fighting for you. And that's what our promise to you guys. But understand, we need you to be pointing the finger in the mirror. We need to be, you want to be fighting your opponents, and that's how you get to where you want to go. And so I hope everybody understands the intent of this. I really want to kind of keep this positive, but I need everybody to understand that, everything starts from you, and all the solutions and everything as it relates to self-discovery starts from a place of wanting that discovery and losing a victim mentality. So I hope this helps somebody, and we'll talk to you later.